Welcome to the Podunk Polymath Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the sentiments of a secular, screwed-up Southern SJW skeptic. My name's Katie Cannell, and I don't have a podcast, but at least you know how to say my name now.
This is episode 48 of the Podunk Polymath Podcast. Thanks once again for joining me. Hope you had a spectacular weekend. The intro this week was read by Katie Cannell. Of course, Katie was on a couple episodes with me, and I met her at them at ReasonCon, and they're awesome. So you should definitely go friend them if you can, if they want you to. You have to be nice, though. If you're an asshole, fuck you. So anyway, they're awesome. This week also, I want to announce 3 new patrons that have joined the posse. I've also made some changes to Patreon, but first I will tell y'all who the new patrons are. First of all, I wanted to say that Nathan Dickey of the Trolling with Logic podcast actually increased his pledge from $2 to $5. So thanks, Nathan. That's super awesome of you. And definitely go check out his show. $2 is pledged by Michael Schaefer, Reason Real Estate. Thank you so much, sir. $1 was pledged by the Utah Outcast, those crazy guys and gal. And then I got $1 pledged by Torsten Peele of prosperitykarma.org and placebomart.com. Pretty funny, actually, these websites. So I want you to go check them out and see what they're about. They're not what you think, probably. So thank you so much for all the support, y'all. It really means a lot to me. And any little thing can help pay for hosting and make me feel like I'm actually contributing to society in some small way. Also, I got a review this week from Nadia Business. Pretty sure I know who that is, but as is my policy, will not name them unless they explicitly say so. This show is an excellent podcast. Sorry, is the title. This show is a great podcast to listen to for the atheist community. The topics seem to cover the whole spectrum of issues a liberal person could want to hear about, and the commentary is unique and welcoming. I feel like the host has an unpretentious demeanor, which translates to making it very enjoyable and approachable. Kudos and a great job. Thank you, Nadia. And perhaps I can go fuck myself. And if that's who I think it is, then she'll get it. Anyway, thanks for the review. Thanks for the patrons. This is awesome that y'all thought that much of me to do that. And every review, every pledge, anything really helps me out and makes me feel good. So thanks again. Of course, I have to remind everybody that Secular Saturday is coming up this weekend. I will be there, hopefully dressed as Jesus Christ. If the outfit is still there, I will be on a podcast panel as well, and tickets are still on sale. They're more on at the door, so get in before you go. Go to secularsaturday.org and check it out. Like I said, I changed Patreon a little bit. I added another level at $10. But I also added some rewards. For $2 and above, you get an audio diary when I'll just ramble senselessly into a microphone. I hope you enjoy it. So if you consider that a reward, that's what you're getting. And of course, $5 still remains the Patreon-only hangout as well as the audio diary. But there's a $10 level now where you get all the other stuff, plus you get a t-shirt. So that's something to aspire to. I know everybody out there wants a Podunk Polymath Podcast t-shirt. I mean, who wouldn't? So, anyway, for the palaver, I will be speaking to Rakeem and Esmerelda from the Outer Voices podcast. It's a podcast based out of Tennessee and Mississippi, since they're both in different places. It's a great podcast. They talk about current news. They have guests on, musical guests. And they also have a sex segment where they talk about all kinds of sex. Well, Esmerelda is the queen of sex, a pervert, she would call herself probably. But it's very informative and very candid. Check out their interview next, and I hope you enjoy it.
Looking for something new and exciting, or maybe just a change from the old Atheist show format? Cellar Door Skeptics Podcast provides listeners with hours of enjoyment each week on Spreaker and iTunes. Check us out as we talk politics, religion, science, reviews of books and music, along with the occasional interview just for a twist. Join Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern as they bring fresh content to you. Walk with us through the cellar door as we help you prepare for the revolution. You can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, and even on Facebook.
Hey, all you listeners, I'm Robert.
And I'm Amy from Secular Yakking.
And we just wanted to let you know that if you've got 30 minutes to kill,
then we're the podcast for you. We're just some old married couple who's been yakking at each other over the many years.
And we thought we should start making it so you can listen in on our yakking.
We dig past the mainstream and bring you the news that you may or may not have heard about.
We take a look at politics, religion, science, and pretty much anything we feel like yakking about and sharing it with you. And let us not forget our weekly Mr. Potter Award.
No, we're not professionals on anything we talk about, but we love to yak about stuff and give you our opinion on the matter.
So tune in at secularyakking.com or check out our feed on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and anywhere good podcasts can be heard.
And who knows what craziness will happen.
Yeah, just like this.
Welcome to another edition of Palaver here on the Podunk Polymath Podcast. This week I have a couple of podcasters. Well, they're doing the same show called the Outer Voices Podcast, and at least one of them is based out of Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
May I present Esme and Rakeem from the Outer Voices Podcast. How y'all doing?
I'm doing.
That's about the best you can get out of Keen.
Yeah, it really is.
So, first of all, I wanted to say I've heard about your podcast because y'all posted in the National Atheist group. And it's the first time I'd ever seen it. And I thought, that's interesting. Another Tennessee podcast, or at least half Tennessee.
Yeah.
So why don't y'all kind of give an idea of what your podcast is about?
Do you want me to field this, Esme, or?
Yeah, well, it's your podcast.
Well, so really the podcast it's called the Outer Voices Podcast, and it's designed to give a voice to the people who traditionally wouldn't get their voices heard in our society. The outside voices. There you go. Clever name. But we, talk, political stuff, societal stuff, latest news, other random bullshit from time to time. Esme gives us all the sex information you could want.
And then some.
And that's really it. I mean, we're trying to give voices to the people who just the people who want to be heard, who feel like they can't for some reason be heard or get their voices out there. We also feature up and coming musicians who are trying to get their voices out there. So I mean, that's really the basis behind it. We actually started it. Well, I started it under a different name, a different format. About a year ago, and there was a whole bunch of hosts. It was a giant, pardon my language, clusterfuck at the beginning.
Oh no, this is a explicit show.
All right, it was a giant clusterfuck at the beginning, with a whole bunch of just really big problems, and I went on hiatus after the shooting in Orlando last year at Pulse. Because I just couldn't take it anymore. I needed a break. And Esme, in I think it was January, was like, hey, I think it's about time you start that podcast back. And after a while, we finally did. New format, a great new host who gives me shit constantly.
Well, yes.
But we're trying to, like I said, get people's voices out there. It's what we do. It's what we love to do.
Yeah, so I've been listening a lot, since I found out about it. And, yeah, one of the aspects I noticed is y'all apparently like to argue quite a bit. I guess that's probably putting it mildly. I forgot about the musician. Y'all feature musicians. I thought that was a really cool kind of twist, because I generally don't hear that. And they're local musicians, is that right?
Mostly local. From where we are, but I mean that's probably going to change a little bit since I'm going to be moving to Brooklyn, and so I'm hopefully going to be meeting people up there, so that's going to add more people. But mostly it's local, either Memphis or North Mississippi artists who we normally get. But I'm probably going to also be starting branching out to like other areas. Anybody who is trying to get their music out there can contact us, and we'll help you out. If you're up and coming and got a voice, man, we got you.
Did you say Brooklyn?
Yeah,
New York?
Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, damn. Okay, that's a hell of a culture shock.
Yeah, that it's gonna lead to some very interesting shows come about August and September.
What made you decide to do that? Just, well, I mean, who the fuck doesn't want to get out of Mississippi? But
It's true. Well, my life's goal was to go to law school and become a lawyer based around civil liberties and civil rights. And I've been working for years to try to get to the position where I can finally go. And just here in, I think it was February, I got accepted into Brooklyn Law School. And of course, they offered me money and a program that I like and a place to live. I was like, I'm going.
well, hell yeah.
Yep.
Yay!
You do know Morgan Stringer down there from Bi Skeptical, right?
Yeah, I know Morgan. I hang out with Morgan on a weekly basis. We even went to the same high school.
Well, that's kind of strange. Okay. Did y'all know each other in high school?
We didn't. She actually came in a year after I graduated. But the hilarious thing was we both went to Ole Miss, and she's in law school here, and I graduated undergrad here. But we met each other up here kind of randomly through an atheist group, and she was telling me all these stories about like different like legends in back at our high school and all these things. And one of them was about a kid who threw this big outrageous party that got a whole bunch of staff members fired and got a bunch of kids kicked out of school and caused them to like at this Christian school caused them to like redo all the rules and make things more difficult because of some wild party. And I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that kid was me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, hopefully she can get the fuck out. I'm sure that's what she wants to do too.
Yeah, she's planning on it. I hope she gets out soon.
Yeah, it's a hellhole. I mean, I've never even been there, but of course, you hear on the news, and I hear from people, and Mississippi's always the last and everything. That's the joke, so.
Right. Mississippi is like the place that time forgot. Like we're probably we're in the year 1950 right now.
Oh, Jesus. Awesome. That's just great, man. Yeah. And you make the rest of the South look, well, I say that. Georgia ain't great. Tennessee's not much better, really, except for the cities, I guess.
Yeah.
See, Mississippi actually, Mississippi's so bad that it allows the other southern states to be terrible and they can still be looked at as less terrible.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, the format of your show, y'all kind of do news items, I guess, sort of. And then y'all, Esme, you have a sex segment.
Yes.
Which is very informative and very candid. So why don't you kind of talk about that?
Okay. So I added, when we rebooted this podcast a few weeks ago and Keem brought me on as co-host, I put, actually, no, this was Keem's idea, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To have me do this sex segment, because sex, okay, like I said in the very first episode, the reboot, sex is my favorite thing to talk about. I will talk about sex with anyone at any time, basically like in everything, except during my day job, because that would not go over very well.
I was like, she'll even, Esme will bring out her toy collection, pictures of her toy collections on first meetings with people.
Yeah, Keem invited me out to lunch with one of his partners and one of my other partners. And like I literally pulled out my phone within probably 15 minutes of meeting this girl and showed her my brand new sex toy. She was a little freaked out, I think. But I will yell about sex toys in bars with people that I've never met before. Like I will do this. And so it's my favorite thing to talk about. And also this is a justice issue, right? So many aspects of the sex industries and pornography and sex toy marketing, and all of these things exploit people's discomfort in talking about sex, to make money for themselves, right? They exploit people, and their shame and their embarrassment. And so I'm here. One of my passions in life is to have conversations with people that help them feel less embarrassed and less shameful about sex. Because it is a justice issue, right? Like, we're exploiting people's like, people in the sex industries are really good at exploiting people's insecurities, and taking their money, right? Sex toy manufacturers get away with using toxic materials because people are afraid to publicly advocate for safe materials, because that would mean stating loudly in public that they use these items, and people are not willing to do that. And so now there's no like advocacy for safety in sex toys, right? The pornography industry, the mainstream pornography, you will hear on our podcast this week, is really exploitative because people are afraid to advocate for it, because that means publicly coming out and saying that you watch porn, right? But yeah, and frankly, I really just like talking about sex. I have a lot of enthusiasm about sex. I enjoy talking about it, and I enjoy educating people about things that they might not know, right? I have a passion, and I'm going to share. I have a passion for something that does affect the health of people. And if you are not digging into it, you might not realize that this is really a health issue and a justice issue. So that's my...
No, that's completely cool. I mean, you can tell when you talk about that you're just like really comfortable and just really knowledgeable, and that you love talking about it, obviously. Which is cool. I mean, like you said, it's kind of taboo in our culture, it seems like, to even talk about it, because people are kind of embarrassed. Even I, am not terribly open about it. I don't know if it's because my nature or it was indoctrinated. I was indoctrinated with it, and you're just not supposed to talk about that kind of stuff out loud or whatever. It's difficult. Like I said, it's difficult to say. I mean, even when I joined this community, there's a lot of kink. There's a lot of things I'd never even thought of before, because I'm pretty vanilla when it comes to that sort of thing. So it really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff I was not previously aware of. And that's why I said to you before, I really enjoyed your segment, because I actually learned stuff from it. I mean, what are some of the subjects you have covered so far?
So we have now been doing this. How many weeks have we been on the reboot, Keem? 8?
Since
7 or 8?
It's 14 to 22. So
yeah, so 8. This will be our 8th episode on the reboot, right?
Yes.
But so we've talked about consent twice. Because I don't know if you guys know, but consent is important, and there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of willful ignorance around consent lately. I did a sex toy 101 where I went into basically what are sex toys and why should you be open to using them, and how to choose one that's not going to give you chemical burns on your parts. Which is a problem for some people, because again, there's no regulation at all in the sex toy industry as far as materials go. There's nobody policing whether or not even the materials are what the manufacturer says they are. I did the very first one that I did on episode 14 was about my approach to sex positivity, which I'm actually going to circle around again at some point and address in a little bit more depth. So I consider myself sex positive, and a lot of people have really valid criticisms of sex positivity, where it seems to be painting everything with a broad brush, right? Where all sex is good all of the time. Well, that's not necessarily true. There's a lot of ways that people can use sex and use sex positivity as a way to hurt other people. Right. So I'm not advocating that all kinds of sex all the time are good. But I have this this position of ethical sex positivity, and anti-oppressive sex positivity is the term that I used in the episode, where if you find yourself with sexual attitudes and preferences that you notice are discriminating against, like you are biased against people who are more marginalized than you, around that marginalized identity, like look at why, because you have somehow internalized some toxic something, right? So look at that. What else have we done, Keem?
We did
barriers.
Barriers.
Barriers. I get enthusiastic about barrier protection, guys. I don't know if you know. There's so many kinds, and they're awesome.
What are they? What do you mean by barriers, first of all?
I know. Okay, so condoms, right? Condoms are the one that everybody... Here, let me give you the short version. Condoms are the one that everybody knows about. There's an incredible variety of condoms. They come in an incredible variety of sizes, even from manufacturer to manufacturer. If you have a problem with finding ones, like if you have a problem with condoms that slip off or condoms that feel like they're strangling you, like try a different manufacturer. Try different sizes, because different sizes exist for a reason. Try different textures. Textures are great. There are non-latex condoms. There are all kinds of condoms. But then getting into
internal condoms.
Huh?
Internal condoms. Don't forget those.
Getting there. God. Okay. But so when I say barrier protection, that's what most people think of, because that's the one that's in the cultural script, right? That's what everybody uses. But I include in barrier protection, so you've got traditional condoms. There's internal condoms that are inserted into whatever orifice you're having sex in, like having sex with, and that creates, like, it's still a barrier protection, but it allows for a different kind of sensation and a different kind of protection, and has the added benefit of, like, you can stop having sex and take a break and do whatever and not have to worry about removing a traditional condom and putting a new one on before you resume sex. You can just leave it in place and it's there. So that's really handy. I actually, I don't think that I included this story in our episode when we talked about barriers, but I went into my local sex shop looking for internal condoms, and I went in and I said, "Hey, do you guys have internal condoms?" And the manager goes, "What? Do we have what?" And I'm like, "Are you serious right now? Like, your job, your career right now is working in like in a sex toy store, and you don't know what internal condoms are. Okay, let me talk to you about internal condoms." And he said that he was going to recommend that they order them, and then they never did. But so internal condoms, dental dams, which you can buy if you want to, or I typically hack my way through. Like, you can cut a condom open, you can cut a glove open, which I'm going to get to in a second. You can use plastic wrap. But a dental dam just provides a barrier for between genitals and your mouth, so that you can do that without exchanging fluids from genitals to mouth. You can, and then gloves. Gloves are great for so many different things. They change the sensation of your hand, right? If you find that you have too much friction or not enough friction, or you're having problems keeping enough lube while you're using your hand on somebody, like, gloves can help with that. If you have like calluses or things like that your partner is uncomfortable with, like that causes discomfort, just slap a glove on it. That'll smooth things out. And especially I like to do gloves. I did mention this in the podcast. I like to use gloves if I am combining any kind of penetrative sex with bondage, especially rope bondage, because like sometimes if you have a partner in bondage, they like start to lose feeling in their fingers if you put a rope in the wrong place, or they are losing circulation, or they just need to go to the bathroom or what have you. And you don't know necessarily how fast your partner needs to come out of bondage. Well, you don't want to have to stop what you're doing, go wash your hands, come back, and then untie your partner. If you're using gloves, you can just whip the gloves off and untie your partner. And that's a safety thing, right? Like, it's a safety and a convenience thing, because your only other options are wash your hands or wash your rope later. And washing rope is possible, but it's a pain in the ass. So what else have we talked about, Keem?
I'm going down the list. We doubled back on consent. I know we did that.
Yeah, we did. This week we talked about porn.
Yeah.
I gave all sorts, giving all sorts of references for like feminist, ethically produced pornography, and talking about the pornography industry and why you should pay for your porn.
You should?
You should.
Okay. That makes sense.
You absolutely should pay for your porn, right? Like a business doesn't make sense if everybody is taking the product for free and not putting any money into the industry. And also putting your money into the porn that you want to see more of effectively tells the producers what porn people like and what they should make more of, right? So if you want to see a lot of really horrible, exploitative, like porn based on racial stereotypes, like go ahead and buy that. But I don't know anybody who wants that, right? I would rather see porn that has accurate, like non-fetishized representation of diverse people. And so that's what I put my money into. And that tells the people who are producing the porn that this is something that I value. Like I am a consumer who values ethical representation of diverse people.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's well said. I did want to mention that you talked about internal condoms. I had never heard of that before. And someone was talking about in a group I'm in about having problems with maintaining an erection with a condom or something. I was like, well, have you ever heard of these internal condoms or whatever? And they hadn't. Apparently, I haven't. Nobody. I don't know that anybody else has, except for people like you. No, just freaks. No shaming. But yeah, that's.
I prefer the term pervert, actually.
Oh yeah, that's old school.
I've reclaimed it. Like, I get mad when people call Trump a pervert because I'm like, hey, don't talk bad about perverts.
yeah, I'm fine with that. He's of many other things, but pervert, well, anyway, that's a whole different podcast. But anyway, yeah, extremely informative. I'm glad you're doing it. It's like I got you together with Cassis from Promoting Secular Feminism. She does a similar segment, and that's kind of what reminded me of when I heard you the first time, was the stuff she was doing on that show. So I don't think we could get enough of that sort of education.
I don't think so, right? I think that everybody needs to be able to talk openly about sex, right? One of the reasons that we're having all of these problems. So we have a lot of problems about sex, right? Like we have huge problems with teen pregnancy. We have huge problems with STD rates. We have huge problems with all of this stuff. And the highest rates of these things are in communities and in regions where people don't talk openly about sex because it's like they're ashamed of talking about it, right? If you're ashamed of sex, you are going to be embarrassed and ashamed of having conversations that will help you be safe. And you're ashamed to talk about testing, and you're ashamed to talk about barriers, and you're ashamed to talk about, you're ashamed to talk about the things that you like, right? You're going to have a lot of bad sex if you can't tell your partner what you want them to do to you. So so many of the problems that we have about in areas related to sex right now would be made so much better if people could just feel comfortable talking openly about sex, right?
Absolutely. And the South is really bad about that because there's a lot of suppression here. I think the STD rates here is a lot higher than a lot of other places. And I do know that porn watching is they did a study on that. Well, according to IP addresses, they went by IP addresses to see who was watching online porn the most. And it was the South, which is not surprising to me at all. And yeah, there's of course this abstinence only bullshit that doesn't work. I mean, teen pregnancy rates here are super high because they don't talk about it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's just disgusting to me, I think. And I don't know if this is a bit. There was a case here in Tennessee, I think, where there was a chlamydia outbreak at a high school.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody, when abstinence only education, nobody apparently knows what that is. I don't know. They just go around spreading diseases. So definitely, we need more comprehensive sex education.
That's like here in Mississippi. There recently they came out and said that Jackson, Mississippi, has like one of the highest HIV, like one of the worst HIV epidemics in the country. And within that same week, the governor announced that they're cutting public health, and they are cutting. They used to not charge for HIV tests, but now they're going to be charging money for people to even get HIV tests. Yeah.
It's like they want people to fucking die almost. Oh, wait a minute. They don't want, they don't want brown people to be able, to get health care. Basically, well, it's not just majority, but poor people, but most especially poor black people.
Yeah, it's the communities where these epidemics are happening are very specific.
Yeah.
And when they say, oh, well, we're having this, we're cutting public health. Well, who's gonna suffer from that? Oh, wait.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with voter suppression laws.
Right.
Anything like any policy like that almost always affects the people who are least able to do anything about it. It pisses me off to no end. And again, that's a whole other topic, but it does segue nicely into the next thing I wanted to talk to y'all about, or Rakeem, you especially, about your experience as a, should we say, cishet black man in the living in the South.
Oh yeah, it's not only even that, it's black man who is also openly atheist.
Yes.
And openly in multiple relationships with white women.
Oh yeah, it's another thing too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been so I am probably the most rage-filled individual on the planet.
I would back that up.
I don't know. You listen to Angry Black Rant, he's pretty pissed.
Yeah, Ishmael can Ishmael can give me a run for my money. I will agree with that one. But yeah, so I have been just in my time from college, I have been on the Klan blacklist because I used to be a
what?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I didn't even know that was a thing.
That is a thing. The local Klan's blacklist. I was an opinion writer for the University of Mississippi's newspaper, the Daily Mississippian, and while I will say my writing back then was something I'm not exactly proud of, it wasn't great. There were things that I said that got me on the Klan shit list. I was actually at a concert where somebody walked up to me and said, you might want to leave, and then handed me a card, and it was a business card for the local Klan chapter.
Oh my God, that's, yeah.
I've had people come to my house, angry white people come to my house after I've written stuff, to tell me off. It's been fun.
Fun. I'm not sure that.
I have moved from like being scared of this to just like bring it on. Like let's go. I've become militant to the point, and Esme can tell you. Like Esme, she is a very, very much a pacifist.
Yeah, that's true.
And we conflict on this quite a bit because I am not, and I'm one of those people. I'm not a very large man. I am 5'6", about 170 something pounds, but I will fight you. Like,
to my credit, though, like I don't ever tell you that you shouldn't be militant.
Right.
I'm just not going to do that. I can't do that.
Yeah, Esme's not going to tag in, but
I don't know that I would either. To be honest,
but although shit, the way this country is going, might not have a choice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I was saying, like as we were talking before this show, the entire country has now become Mississippi. Like, welcome to Mississippi, everyone. This is what life was like here. Mississippi is a shit show. I have a love-hate relationship with this state. I love it because I'm born here. This is my home. I grew up in this little podunk town doesn't even have 200 people, and everybody drives either F-150s or four-wheelers and rides around on horses. So I love this place. It's my home. But Mississippi is such a damn shit show. Like everything that has to do with progress in any way, whether it be racial progress when it comes to human rights of any sort, acknowledgement of any religion that isn't Christianity, held down to whether someone wants to drink alcohol. Mississippi is just so far behind, and it's getting worse. I said it on our show. My personal nemesis, my very personal nemesis. He doesn't know it. I want him to know it.
You should send him a letter.
I should. I want to challenge him. Honestly, I want to challenge him to a duel, but I don't think that would be legal. But my very personal nemesis is Governor Phil Brown of Mississippi. Like I want to have a boxing match with this man, and just fight him, because he continues to take this state down a path that is not acceptable. Continuously cutting education, promoting literal neo-Confederacy.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's rough.
Yeah, because the Confederacy was great to begin with. That's exactly what we need, yeah.
Oh, according to this man, they were patriots.
Oh, goddamn, that line just drives me crazy. I've heard that before, yeah.
Our show this week is around the 4th of July. One of our main topics is talking about patriotism, and we talk a little bit about that, about people doing really shitty, un-American things and going, we're patriots. No, you're just being dicks.
Yeah. Well, patriotism is the last refuge of a scoundrel, they say. So, I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase before, but yeah, they always use that to try to control people, anything like that. They try to steer them away from the real problems they have. And what patriotism, and they're like, their eyes glaze over, worship the flag or whatever.
Right.
It's ridiculous. So yeah, do you have any you said you were on the Klan shit list. Do you have any problems just in daily life or whatever that you notice that other people might not have?
So it's gotten less just because I've gotten to the point where I can navigate certain spaces. But I've been out before with a partner or something, and we've gotten the proverbial dirty looks, or somebody really doesn't want to serve you. I've gotten pulled over by a police officer once not once, about 3 times for what was basically riding around with white people.
Sir, I'm going to have to write you a ticket for riding around with white people.
The funny thing is, so I love the differences between how me as a black guy in the South responds to the police pulling you over in regards to my white friend or partner sitting in the seat. Me, it's just like, here you go, take my license. I didn't do anything. Let's not have a confrontation at all. Like, because I know this is not going to end well for me.
No.
Yeah, especially my white friend that was with me a couple of these times. Oh man, he got loud with the cop, got really confrontational with the cop, and I'm just sitting here like, shut the hell up. This is not going to end well for me. You'll be fine.
So what you're saying is that scene in Get Out was real relevant to your life.
That scene was really fucking relevant. That you were with me when I saw that movie. I was just like, yep, that's how it works.
Yep.
I still haven't seen that yet. I need to go see it.
You have to see it. It's so good.
That movie's definitely one of the best movies that I've seen in a while.
So that was funny though, seeing that movie with Keem. I went down to Oxford to go see it, so that we could go see it together. And how many mixed couples were there in the audience, Keem? So many. Most of the audience was like interracial couples, mostly men and white women. It was very weird.
Yeah, that movie was the interracial couple test. Like, yeah. You're looking at your partner like, how you gonna react? You ready? You ready for this? and like, it was interracial couples, and it was black families who had brought like young black children to the movie. And this is an R-rated horror movie, but they brought their black children, like young children, to the movie to basically give them a lesson on racism.
Yeah.
Wow. What can you say? I mean, sometimes comedy is the best way, or satire is the best way to educate people, I think.
Very right.
People just they're getting their dose of medicine without realizing they're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think that it's good in that way, but it's sad that they have to be educated in that to begin with. I mean,
right. You can't tell them directly, because if you confront someone directly with this stuff nowadays, they just go, I'm not the bad person. You're the bad person for bringing this up.
Right. Why do you have to be so divisive all the time?
Right.
oh my God. That drives me crazy. I absolutely hate it when people say shit like that. And you're absolutely right. People get defensive if you confront them with a subject and you implicate them in it, and they're automatically like get defensive and basically more deeply entrench their position. That's just human nature, apparently.
That's why I say one of the things I used to do stand-up comedy, and one of my bits was there's no equivalent for white people for the N-word, except one word. You know what that word is? Racist.
Oh, racist. Okay.
If you call a standard model white person a racist, you might as well have just called them the N-word. Like, it's like that is the most offensive thing, because they will get defensive to the point of they'll get defensive to the point of active racism.
That's what's so ironic about it. Yeah.
So yeah,
It's so, I mean, it's like you call them that and then they act like that, even though they say they're not that way.
you proved my point that I wasn't even really trying to make just now.
Yeah, they get mad and then it just starts coming out. They don't even realize it. I mean,
that's another reason. Like, I know it's not going to change. Like, it's a part of American society, so it's not something that I'm going to be able to escape. As a black man, I'm not going to be able to escape racism. It's everywhere. But I'm glad that within the next month or so, I'm leaving Mississippi, where I'm going to have more availability, be more access to diverse lifestyles and diverse people, where I'm going to have less open, visual, in-your-face racism scene. I know I can't escape it, because, like I said, this is America. This is something that we have to work to try to change the entire country. But I do know that going to Brooklyn will offer me something that I cannot get in Mississippi. I won't have to be afraid of going into a store because someone might not want to serve me. And there are still stores here in Mississippi. There's still stores here in Oxford, Mississippi, that may not want to serve you because you're black or Muslim. I have a Muslim friend who had a person here at the store not serve him. Like, these places in Mississippi are still very real and very open. And I am glad to be leaving this state very soon. But even as I leave, I know that as I go through law school and be working towards civil rights and civil liberties, I will always have to bring this fight back to the state.
Exactly. Yeah.
If nobody, the people here aren't, they're stuck. They're stuck in Mississippi, and they're stuck in the mindset. And even if they want to change it, they get stuck in the day-to-day that is Mississippi life. And it's going to take people, taking a break and getting some distance from it to be able to muster up the forces to come back and take the fight to these institutions, to these racists and sexists and bigots and the whole swamp that is Mississippi.
Swamp, yeah, sounds about right. Yeah. Morass of ignorance. Yeah.
Right.
So let's switch gears a little bit. You had mentioned you were with white partners in the plural. So I guess y'all are polyamorous. I actually did an episode, a two-parter about that, because I was curious about it, because I had only started hearing about this in great detail when I joined this particular community, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And it's more prevalent, I guess, because more of a response to the strictures of religion, the religious strictures about sexuality and, one man, one wife kind of shit. And I think a lot of people, it drives people to the other direction Not to say they weren't that way anyway, but they're able to express themselves more readily now. So
Yeah.
I think that has something to do with it. Why don't you maybe go into that a little bit about y'all's relationship, if you don't mind?
Esme has been she's been poly for quite a while longer than me. She actually introduced me to it. We met via OkCupid, and Esme popped up out of nowhere. Literally, just popped up out of nowhere, started talking to me, and the next thing I know, she's at my house after a tornado the night before on Christmas Eve for a date. And first thought, this person's crazy, but the good kind of crazy.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But before then, and was monogamous. That's all I'd ever known. Gone through a series after series of really bad relationships. And when I met Esme, honestly, I thought, okay, this is probably going to be a person, like, they're doing their own thing. They're doing with the poly thing. If they want to do it, whatever. That's not me. And she'll probably get tired of me, because I thought that poly people just, went out and did what they do with whoever people, and then they go back to their main partner and push those people to the side. I was wrong. And very luckily I was wrong. Because after a while I was like, you know what? This really works. This works for me, and it spoke to some issues I've been having with relationship models, because I'm a person that I love to love people. I like to express love to multiple people in different ways. I'm a very, very loving person, and it was hard before because I may have feelings for one person and then develop feelings for someone else, but I would neglect that other person because I'm only supposed to be with, according to society, I'm only supposed to be one person. Now I am able to, have very meaningful and very different relationships with multiple people, and not neglect someone, to love how we choose without the burdens of monogamy, I guess. I've adopted in these past couple years the idea that love is a benevolent virus. Like, it spreads and spreads and goes from person to person to person, and it's a good thing. It's supposed to spread like that. You're supposed to spread love. And, like, as a society, we try to inoculate ourselves, just maybe one person get the vaccine, be cool. No. For me, it's you spread that benevolent virus.
I'd never heard it put like that. That sounds about right, though. I mean, I would classify myself as curious, I guess, just because obviously I did two episodes on it. And the only thing I might be leery of, and I asked about this, was jealousy. And that would be something that, because I felt that emotion before, I'm sure many people have. That would be the only thing that might worry me, but it's hard to tell until you're in an actual situation like that, how you would actually feel. I mean, did you feel any of that, Rakeem, when you were coming into that?
Surprisingly, a little, but not as much as I thought I would. For me, it actually felt a little easier knowing that Esme has other partners, and knowing those partners, because I know that even when I'm not around, or if there's something I can't provide, provisions are there and will be made. So that's honestly how how I was able to, what little jealousy that did arise, how I was able to overcome it, because I didn't think, this person is taken, because our relationship doesn't change. What we get from one another is what we get from one another. What Esme gets with someone else is what they get. And that's two different things that are fulfilling, but they don't impact the way we feel about each other.
Okay.
Yeah. And I want to jump in a little bit about jealousy, which is that we have, because we're brought up with this expectation of monogamy, like we have a really weird view of jealousy, right? Jealousy is either like a tool that you can use to manipulate your partner, right? Like my partner hasn't been paying enough attention to me, so I'm going to do this thing to make them jealous. And so then they'll want me more. Or it's when we start talking about non-monogamy, like ethical non-monogamy or polyamory or what have you, it's seen as something that is bad and that you should avoid it. But I don't think that jealousy is bad necessarily. It's just a feeling like any other feeling, right? Jealousy only becomes bad when it starts to affect your relationships in ways that are harmful, right? So like feeling jealousy isn't bad. Acting on your jealousy to try to control your partner is bad. And so what needs to happen with jealousy, like being polyamorous is not a magic cure for ever feeling jealousy ever again, right? I experience jealousy. And it's very strange. I experience jealousy. So Keem has another partner who is also a partner of one of my other partners. So we've got this weird little like quad cross thing where like these two guys have two partners in common. It's very strange. And I am jealous of this other person in the context of one of my partners, but not with Keem. It's very weird that this is a thing that I feel, but I have to sit back and notice, like, oh, I am feeling this thing. Okay, well, why am I feeling this thing? Like, what is happening that is causing me to feel this way? And what are the effects that feeling is having on my relationships? And it turns out that the reason that I was feeling jealous is because Keem talks to me about his other partners all the time, and my other partner does not. He's very much closed off and doesn't like to cross-pollinate or whatever. That's a bad word. Sorry. But doesn't like to share information about one relationship with somebody else who he's in a relationship with, and this lack of information about this relationship that he had was making me nervous because I didn't know, like I didn't have any context for his investment in this relationship. And so I told him, I was like, okay, like you don't have to tell me all of the things about your relationships, but sometimes I'm going to ask you questions about your relationship. And I just want, or like I had a conversation with him where I was like, I would like to know this level of information, and I will make a point to ask you about it, but also I'd like you to talk more about it. Right. So we just had to come to an understanding of like one of the reasons that I was feeling this feeling was because I had lack of information. But jealousy, like I said, isn't a bad thing on its own, right? Jealousy is just a feeling, but it's when it starts showing up in harmful ways, right? In ways that are leading you to control other people, ways that are leading you to lash out, ways that are leading you to be manipulative in your relationships. That's when jealousy becomes bad. Up until that point, it's just a feeling, just like any other feeling. Like you can feel happy or sad or compersion. I love compersion.
Yeah, that's a term I had never heard of until that episode.
Most people have not.
Compersion, yeah, it's like when you actually get pleasure from knowing your partner is, getting pleasure from, even if it's from some other source or whatever.
Yeah, it's just happy, like you feeling happy that your partner is experiencing happiness.
That's a thing.
It totally is a thing.
I will say, I get happiness out of. So Esme and my other partner hung out this week.
Yeah, we did. That was really fun.
just hung out, and I was like so excited because I was just like, "Yay! Two people I love, like absolutely love and care about, get to enjoy each other's company and just hang out and be cool." And that is really exciting to me.
Was that something you started out feeling, or was that something you just kind of had to? It came later, or whatever.
It came later, but not too long later. It came It came pretty soon after I was involved with another person. Because like I'm a people person, and I'm one of those people who I like to have people that I enjoy each other. Like, hey, I think y'all would be cool. I think you guys would be cool and be friends and have fun together even when I'm not around. And I do that with my friends too. It's like if I have a friend that I've met, it's like, hey, I have this other friend that I think you would love. I think you would love to hang out with. You should come do that.
Compersion is actually a feeling that we feel more often than we think of. It's just there's not a word for this feeling necessarily that exists outside, like that is in wide usage outside of the ethical non-monogamy communities, right? Like if your friend gets a promotion, you feel happy for your friend, even though that has nothing to do with you, right? That's compersion, right? Feeling happy about something good that happens to somebody else that is not that this thing that happened to them has nothing to do with you. That's compersion, right? And compersion, as it exists within the context of a polyamorous relationship, is only weird to people who are not polyamorous because we have this really weird cultural script about monogamy where everybody is supposed to be with only one person at a time, right? If your partner, there's this cultural script that every person is supposed to have only one person. And so if your partner is experiencing happiness caused by somebody else, that experience is must obviously be something that should have belonged to you, right? This other person shouldn't be causing your partner to feel happy. You should be the one causing your partner to feel happy. And so then this other person has taken something away from you. But if you kind of let go of that script a little bit and just say, well, I wouldn't be like, it's not reasonable to be jealous of a experience that your partner has with somebody else. Right? Like you wouldn't be jealous if your partner got a promotion, right? Like you wouldn't be jealous if it's caused by this script, right? Like that's why it seems weird in the context of relationships, because everybody expects that every person should have only one partner.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, it's kind of this norm that you expect that, and to kind of go outside of that, people are like, what is that a thing? What are you doing? It's like before I found out about it, I was just kind of like, I didn't know there was something else. I mean, I'd heard of it before.
Yeah.
But I had never really I watched Big Love, which isn't quite the same thing, but
not quite.
But it's the idea of multiple partners, and I thought that was the way they navigated that in that show. I thought was interesting, even though, like I said, it's from the viewpoint of more of an extremist religion, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. I thought the interaction between the characters was kind of informative of some of that stuff. And then when I found out in this group, I was able to find out about more. It sounds like communication is like the key thing.
Oh, hell yes.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
I'm a geek about communication. It's a whole thing.
We talk too damn much. It's like she said earlier, I tell her everything. Like how's my days, how my day's been, how I'm feeling, whatever problems that we may be having, or anything that may have been upset me or something. Like she gets everything. Hell, she even knows what my sister did 5 minutes ago. Yeah,
I mean, that's not bad. I mean, some people just are like that, and some people, I'm not as communicative as I need to be, and that's something I need to work at, and I'm actually trying to work on, because by nature I'm not really that way, and it's gotten me in trouble in relationships I've been in because I'm not that way.
Yeah. And see, that's part of what the communication is in ethical non-monogamy, especially with polyamory, where you're having multiple loving relationships with different people, is talking to your partners about what you need, right? Keem needs somebody to confide in. And I know that because we've talked about it. And so we make a point to talk on the phone almost every day for 20 minutes or half an hour. This summer has got my schedule all screwed up, so we've been slipping a little bit. But Keem needs to do that. Like, he needs somebody to talk to on a regular basis. And so we do that. Meanwhile, I have another partner who's out of state, who he just moved out of state. And before, he was in Memphis and we saw each other twice a week. And now we're trying to figure out what's the level of communication that we both need to still feel connected to each other, to still feel like we're important in each other's lives. And we are still working on figuring that out. We have not hit that balance yet, right? Where I feel like I am like I'm being excluded from his life, even though that's not something that he's doing intentionally or maliciously. It's just we haven't found the right level of how often we need to talk and how much information I need to have about his life in order to feel like I'm being valued and included in his life, even though now he's moved far away from me. And it's just a matter of being aware of how you feel about your relationships and then communicating to your partners what you need. And every partnership, you have to let go of the idea that all of your partnerships should look the same, right? In the ethical slut, which is the like non-monogamy 101, it's Janet Hardy and Dossie Eason. And if you're interested in ethical non-monogamy, I definitely recommend, or in just having like better sex and learning how to communicate in your relationships, like I definitely recommend it. But they talk about how you can have 3 partners, right? And you have different needs in your relationships. Well, you might need A from all 3 of your partners. So all 3 of your partners have to give you A in order to be like satisfied in your relationships. But like you only need B from 2 of your partners. Like you don't need that in your other partnership. Or you might need C. Like you have different needs, and not all of your partners have to meet your needs in the same way. And you don't need the same thing from each of your partners. Every relationship is an individual relationship. And every relationship is unique, and every relationship requires something that's a little bit different because there's 2 unique people involved in this relationship. But you have to be aware of what you need, and you have to be able to communicate to your partner what you need in a relationship in order for that to work. And you have to be willing to experiment, right? You're not always going to hit it exactly right off the bat, but you can say, let's try this thing. And then after a while, you come back around to it and be like, okay, this thing sort of worked, but I still feel like I need something else. Or this thing, like, I feel like we went too far the other way. Let's dial this back a little bit, right? You're constantly working on finding the best ways to show each other that you're valued, the best ways to communicate with each other, the best ways to feed your relationship, so that both of you feel satisfied in the relationship.
And actually, on that subject, I'll speak about a recent issue with, and Esme knows this, of course, with one of my other partners. So I talk to Esme every day. Just about.
We text every day. We talk on the phone 4 or 5 times a week.
True. My other partner, however, we don't talk nearly as much. That's just kind of not her thing. So with her, it's all about the time when we do get together, the time we get to spend with one another. But there is one thing. So I have anxiety, and sometimes things just set me off, and it can range from me having insomnia for days because I'm worried about something. But the one thing across all my relationships that I need is every once in a while I get a call or a text or something saying I'm alive. Like I don't have to worry about safety. I just need to every once in a while, even if you're busy, whatever, just let me know that you're okay. Because if it doesn't happen, I'll start to freak out, and that's not good. And my other partner, she hadn't contacted me in quite a couple of days, and I started to get a little antsy, when I finally did get in touch with her and communicate that, because she knew that, because we had talked about it, that I need to know you're okay. Like, we don't have to talk. Just every once in a while, shoot me something and just let me know you're okay. And that, it speaks to how very different the relationships I have are, but the little things in them that actually are the same. So yeah, sorry, that was just a little anecdote on with what she was saying.
Case in point.
So let's wrap this up a little bit. Why don't y'all, first of all, I want to say it's been a great conversation, and we had covered a lot of ground here. And I think that's fucking awesome. But why don't y'all tell everybody where they can find your show?
Esme, you can take this.
We are the Outer Voices podcast. I'm currently working on getting us on the major podcasting apps. Right now, we're only available on Spreaker. If you go to Spreaker and search the Outer Voices podcast, you'll find us. Or on YouTube at search for the Outer Voices podcast. If you find us on Facebook, what are we on Facebook, Keem? The Outer Voices podcast?
Yep.
Okay. Search for the Outer Voices podcast on Facebook and friend us or like us or whatever, and you will get our updates in your timeline, including all new episodes of the Outer Voices podcast, plus all of the random bullshit that we post all week, every week, because there's so much stuff happening in the world that both of us are just enraged about that we post things and yell. We post our new episodes Sunday evenings, usually about 9:00, but depending on how long it takes me to edit. So tune in or watch your Facebook timeline or watch our Facebook timeline Sunday evenings for new episodes.
Good deal. And I have listened to y'all's episodes, and I'm quite impressed, I have to say. The kind of spice you bring to it with your argument, I think, makes it interesting.
Well, nobody ever said that you have to agree with your partner or your co-host all the time.
I will say with this Sunday's this week's episode, it definitely becomes an argument here.
We disagreed on a bunch of stuff this week.
Hey, that's okay. Debates are good, and sometimes you can learn something from another viewpoint, so.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Well, again, thanks for coming on.
You are definitely welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Hey, and of course, you have to come on our show.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Come yell with us.
Yeah, just hit me up whenever y'all are desperate enough to have somebody on or whatever. Okay, finally. We'll let you on. Jesus. Maybe I can mediate or something. I don't know. Y'all take it easy.
All right.
You too.
That'll do it for this episode of the Podunk Polymath Podcast. I want to thank Esme and Keem for coming on and talking to me. Of course, go check out the Outer Voices podcast. I will put the links in the show notes, of course. Definitely, please, especially if you're in the South. It's, another Southern podcast, and Lord knows we need more of them around here, so definitely check it out. Of course, if you want to check out the show, you can come to thepodunkpolymath.com. The music is by ... Go check out their music at cdbaby.com/cd/... You can find the Podunk Polymath Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Google Plus under the Podunk Polymath. If you want to email the show, podunk.polymath@gmail.com. Of course, if you want to become part of the Patreon posse, which is growing, so get in on the ground floor. Come to patreon.com/thepodunkpolymath. Call-in phone number is 615-378-POPO-7676. Still only got one voicemail. Maybe I'll get lucky and get some more. Of course, you can also join the Podunk Polymath Podcast Posse Facebook group, which I've also got some new members in there as well. Go to facebook.com/group/the Podunk Polymath Podcast Posse, all separated by periods. Of course, there's also an online store at zazzle.com/podunk_polymath. If you look on the sidebar, there is a box with my tweets, and you can follow me on Twitter there. There's a donate button through PayPal. You can subscribe on RSS, Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. Buttons for those. And, of course, there's a Patreon button, recent posts, and recent comments. Of course, I forgot to mention, because my memory is shitty, that I will be on PaleoRadio the day this comes out, 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 Eastern. Of course, you can go and check them out on their website. You can call them live, 616-656-1680. If you want to call in and comment, say whatever you want. They're on local radio, Grand Rapids, but I don't know how many y'all in Grand Rapids. But, of course, like I said, go check out their page. The link is up already, and see where you can listen to my awesome self if you get to it. If you heard this podcast before then. Of course, I'll share it on Facebook and everything, so y'all will see it before then if you don't hear it on the episode. So I'm really stoked they agreed to have me on. It took me long enough to convince them, because they didn't want to have my dirty redneck ass on there probably. So anyway, thank you for listening, and until next time, y'all take it easy now, okay?